you to know, in the beginning of Genesis unto Noah's time, it was only 360 days. Only 360 days. So now something shifted thereafter. We don't know when that shifted. And then it became 365 days. The days changed. But now I want you to understand what the Lord has miraculously done. Number one, I want to read first in the book of Matthew, chapter number 24, verse 22, so that you will understand. Matthew, chapter number 24, verse 22. Immediately after he speaks of the tribulation, this is what Yeshua says. And except those days should be shortened. My God. Woo! This is exciting. There should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. My God. Oh, this is the most exciting piece of scripture you will ever find. So except those days should be shortened. When he's just spoken in verse number 21, he says, for there shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Which means the shortened days will begin at that point. Who are the elect? That's the 144,000. Those that are chosen at that time. And then Jesus says, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Now, I was asked a question by a young man in a church called City Bethel in Durban under Apostle Oliver. So this young man says, are the days of the 7 years the normal days, or is it like 1,000 years equals to one day to God? So I want to answer that part because of this, because that scripture says 1 day is like 1,000 years to God, and 1,000 years is like unto 1 day. Which when you say like, that is not a fact of life, but it is giving you an example that to God things are not like us human beings, which does not affect prophecy or the number of days. So that part does not fall into this part of the scripture. So when you are given years in scripture, it means years. When you are given days in scripture, it means days. It does not subtract that. So, however, I want to answer the shortened days. So, the scripture says in the book of Revelation, chapter number 11, verse 3. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. My God, that is amazing. So 1,260 days, that is 1,003 score. A score is 20, 3 score is 60. So 1,260 days. If you divide that by 365, you come to an answer which is 3.45, which is not equals to 3.5 years. Then there'll be some days missing. Why are there days missing then? Because if you count, let's say for instance, if you count the 360 days that were used in the beginning, it comes to exactly 3.5 years, 3.5, which is 3.5 years. Which is amazing to think about it, because now God has miraculously, in fact, God will miraculously shift it again back to the 360 days in the final 3.5 years. And you would think to yourself, but that's not a lot of days. Only 35 days. When you count how many days, because if you take 5 days out of every year, of the 3 years, 5 of the 7 years, sorry, because it starts in the beginning of the 7 years. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. That's only 35 days that will be taken from the final 7 years. So it's going to shift immediately. The deal is signed. Then we will shift back to 360 days. My God. So the 360 days that we will shift back to now will cause 35 days to be shortened out of the 7 years. My God. Woo! I hope you are getting this revelation that I am giving to you now. And Jesus says in the scripture, except those days be shortened. Why? Because at this time, remember, it is Armageddon now. There is world war that is happening, and there is nuclear weapons that are being dropped in every city, and people are perishing at this very same hour. So now you think that 35 days does not make much of a difference, but when you think nuclear weapons, it makes all the difference in the world. Because cities will start to be dismantled by the bombs that will be